as I thought I could plan a podcast. That is not going to happen. I do not have the mindset to sit here. Chop up block to block how I'm going to tell you about weight loss and weight gain. Okay, good evening on this, what is today? Thursday, July 14th, 2022. The time is 10:59 p.m. and welcome to Early in the AM with Isha. We're talking about, today's episode is about being whole. Nothing personal, just about being whole and what that could possibly mean in different scenarios. I guess the first way I could look at it is at yourself, trying to being whole to yourself, for yourself, and within yourself. I don't know, I guess some of us, I start with myself. Personally, I always feel, or I'm always looking for affirmation from someplace. I'm looking for something, whether directly or indirectly, to agree with me or disagree with me enough where I don't see the point in the disagreement and it ends up being more of an agreement. I look forward to, like, I pitch my ideas ahead of myself. It's like throwing a football and then running up to catch it myself. I guess that's kind of crazy. But I always plan things ahead. I look forward to things. Even when there's more of a crazy possibility of it not happening than it is happening. When I feel lonely, I tend to write my feelings out. When I feel incomplete, I do the same thing. When I was younger, I used to seek validation, from social settings, public settings. As long as I was somewhere in the action, I was okay. If basketball was the thing, I had to be playing basketball somewhere. If partying was the thing, I had to be partying somewhere. Not necessarily the life of the party, but within it enough that I would awaken in it and feel the energy and explode with the energy. Now I'm at a place where I'm looking to curtail some of that destructive energy. And it's more of it's like a Zen mode of laying down instead of getting up. It's a Zen mode of complete, not erasehood, but more of a disciplinary action within myself. Like, I've recognized there's a negative trait there or incomplete trait, and I'm inviting in a discipline, a very, it's a heavier, it's a sterner, it's more experienced, it's more powerful. And the overall circumference of wholeness, it has it all 10 times stronger than myself. And I've let this thing in. It's broken me down, it's beaten me up, it's burned me in public, it's humiliated me, it made me cry, it's stolen from me, it's enslaved me, it's rewarded me just to belittle the reward. You name it. A thing that can totally digest you and spew you out its backside. And then you scrambling to find a way to grow, to find your way to the dirt or to some plant so you can be replenished again, and then served up in another plate, and then this thing to digest you and shit you out again over and over and over. And then this reprocessing over and over and this recycling, you get to this place where there's there's a word for calm setting or a melancholy setting, where the energy that ran your life, the impulse that ran you, isn't there anymore. The vitamin that made it so much stronger than you has been processed and it isn't needed anymore. And the tone that you become, this monotone that you become, it becomes your excitement. Your excitement is monotone. Your excitement is melancholy. That's about as exciting as you can get. But the craziness, the insanity is the momentum that carries this monotone, this melancholy, is probably the scariest, the hottest, the most silent, deadliest thing it can be. It is maxed out on all levels. It's your existence on every existence of life there is, and they're all maxed out on the same monotone level. So there is a brighter intensity at being very still, very monotone, and it only lets out that type of vibration. It's very metallic. It's nothing Sprite or strawberry like or bubblegum poppage that comes with the energy that isn't bound by gravity at all. Isn't bound by the elements of discovery or knowledge or awareness. That's what being whole has taught me. That I've come to know certain things. In relationships, it's crazy because I have to look at it from my perspective first, and I see, a lot of relationship can't work because the relationship, the formula for relationship itself gets damaged. The mediator or the messenger in between the two people trying to communicate ends up taking all the abuse in the relationship. The person ends up believing that the actual formality is better than the person, or they lose track that the person that they may be beating up on or abusing is an actual living being and has all the qualities necessary to make a relationship possible. But on some tract of land or something happened where they think that this person doesn't have existence or has lost existence in their eyes, and they can't contemplate that this person was in existence before they came into their life and will have an existence afterwards. God can intervene and find ways to remain. And a lot of times confusion. There's a lot of confusion in relationship, and confusion sometimes in its mainstay, in its presence, is just an affirmation that it's something you don't know, and it's okay not to know it. It's okay not to push the issue for whatever the problem is. It's okay not to. Like if I'm in a relationship with someone and I'm having these feelings where they don't believe me, I tell them things and they don't listen, they talk over me, they undermine what I'm saying, they cut me off. At some point, there's a disconnect there where this person isn't respecting my existence. And I have full knowledge of their existence, of who they are, and what's required to maintain a relationship. But this person has clamped on to something that has personally challenged my right to be there. And there's a begging part of me that wants to say, there's a begging pull in my spirit and my soul, some type of a created reality that I've put on a relationship that maybe this person is attacking. Maybe they're seeing something in me that isn't true. It's farce. It's something I created in some type of fantasy I wanted to live out, and somehow it survived. And this thing is, like a tumor on top of everything I do. It's trying to handle the strings or whatnot. And I don't see myself doing it. This person does. They clamp onto it. I judge them as not like seeing my existence. It is a huge blob of confusion. A lot of times no one's in their critical thinking, in their what is it called, where you could think on your feet, and your ability to think on your feet, you're not trying to see that up front. You're just trying to handle what the social standard says is okay to think in these places. No one's ever, in their thinking place on their feet thinking subconscious thoughts. There's no reason to. And I find myself doing that so much, that there's so much subconscious presence in my very light-hearted, conscious connectivity to just frontal things, non-cerebral, just frontal things, that I find myself almost sucking on the base of my brain, in the back of my throat. I click, when I get too deep in thought, I click with the back of my throat, and I feel like my throat, and I feel like this feeling where I'm sucking toward the back of my brain. Like if I had lips in the back of my neck, it's pointed up toward the base of my brain, and I'm sucking on it like a child sucks their thumb, or a kid sucks on a lollipop. And I do this when I get too deep in thought and I'm trying to center myself. I don't even know if that's possible. But this is what happens when I've thought too deep on something, or I've awakened way too deep in a situation and I didn't consciously pass out. Somehow I was very tired, but I had the energy to keep going. And I got to this place now where that's what I do. I do this regardless. This is what wholeness is to me. It's not necessarily a complete circle. It has warps in it and all kinds of suctions and vacuum type effects to it, but it's whole nonetheless. It's not regulatory. It's definitely not modern, as you would say, but it works nonetheless. It has its place in the universe, I would say. There's definitely a bilateral meaning to this whole conversation I'm talking about. There's a cause and effect all over this thing. I'm this way because something made me this way. Something got brutally over the top with my existence. This thought of me brought up some type of evil, fanatical fantasy made reality. I've got to make this real. I've got to do this damage to this name, to this person. And in the effect, my body prepared itself for a deafening punch that my fanatical creative self couldn't see coming. It was more of a, you can't stop this on your power alone. But within your dwelling, within your dwell place, within your goddom, your seclusion, and your secular, and your circular, and your pluralist, and your celestial, and your welcoming God of green and emerald and all things Taurus and moon and bovine and camel, anything you can think of, you're going to have a creative implosion right within it. And that's what's going to hold you up while the rest of you is just falling apart. It's just taking the burn and just like plastic and acid, just melting and dying away. And the rest of you is just going to become this life existence that is not according to any normal mold anywhere on this planet. Becoming the medium for equalization of the evilness of man. Not the one that can say, okay, I'm evil and I'm ready to repent in front of God. The one that's evil in mainstay. You ever see people when they're evil, when they're in their element of evil on a normal day? Like you see them sitting on the porch and they're plotting on the next female to come by. They're going to do something to her. Or they see a kid and they're knowingly getting up to steal the kid's bike. Like when they're in their evil on mainstay. Not when they've, all gotten glissied up and they're around a whole bunch of other people and they're partying and the element of music is dictating the mood. Not that element of evil. Just on their normal mainstay. When they're in their whole, and then you equalize with that populace. And then you come to your realization that you're just a part of that humongous puzzle and you're just as evil as they are in all your faults. Where is your peace in that day? Not that you're better than them. Your evil isn't better than theirs. Your evil isn't lesser than theirs. There is no lesser evil, no greater evil. But you have equalized in this mainstay. And everyone can have a piece of God in this sanity, a piece of hell in this sanity for what they've done to others, how they're persecuted, how they've persecuted how the community judged and persecuted them in return, myself included. There's no crime goes unpunished. In some eyes, there are some crimes that go straight through the courts and people are rehabilitated. There's crimes that never see the light of day in legality, and it's handled in the streets, and then the streets, dish out whatever judgment they see fit, and then that becomes a whole. And then you see the different bilateral dynamics that life handles itself. And I'm right in the middle trying, to see my circumference. Why my carefulness, what makes me whole and careful. I think being careful in a moment makes me whole. Watching my tongue when I speak things, making sure I know my pauses. Because a lot of times when we speak, especially in public speaking, when we speak to people in general, it's the public pauses. It's not public pauses. It's the promises we make in the meanwhile. The things we promise to people, the avenues we swore we never take in the name of this person or the name of this cause. The secrets we hold within that we promise not to invade the 6 feet of space so the thing remains, where it is untampered. And a lot of times, like when I talk, I find myself, I'm navigating through that poppy field in a sense. Making sure, to follow the code that I instilled in myself when I said, okay, right when I was in my evil mainstay, the promises I made in the covenants I made to not walk in that path again. And then all the relationships I made in the meanwhile were all bad and good. And the things individually that I promised each and every one. And I find myself, I'll pause or my tongue will stumble a little bit. It's just me making sure, like a running back trying to get by the offensive line, like in the second it takes to break a promise, just remembering it in that second or in that moment, and then just doing a fake and going right by it, dismissing it to the momentum of its what do you call that when something goes forward? Inertia. Just dismissing it to its inertia and then going in the opposite direction. Learning how to do that and be that in myself. I think that's what makes me whole. And I think in all that wholeness and me thinking on my feet, this is how I am. I'm this way. And then I'm thinking this, and then wow, I bump into someone in the hallway and they're like, oh, excuse me. And then as fast as I can muster, in like automatic mode, almost like from an answer machine, I'm like, oh, it's okay. Because I've dodged, this person wasn't a part of that formation. So as long as it doesn't damage where I was, I always say it's okay. Even if I'm in a place that's far from that realization and that reality. I guess that's how I feel about being whole. And all the things that crack around it and make it look displeasing to the eye. I realized the craziest things about myself in the weirdest places. But I guess it's okay to feel that way. We all have our own coping mechanisms, and I am no different. Yeah. Alright, love. I'm not gonna rumble and ravel and blah 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 with you too much longer, but I thank you for listening. And see you when I see ya. Talk to you later. As I thought I could plan a podcast, that is not going to happen. I do not have the mindset to sit here. Chop up block how I'm going to tell you about weight loss and weight gain.